Hi, and welcome back to our latest edition of the Warehouse Whiteboard. My name is JJ. Glad you joined us and glad you've taken some time to hear a little bit more about what we're doing in student ministry here at Decorah Covenant Church and in our Warehouse student ministry program. So this past week, we had our meeting last night and we were talking about John chapter 3. And what's the first thing everybody thinks about when they think of John chapter 3? It's the big sign in the end zone, John 3:16, that hangs up there whenever anybody kicks a field goal. We see that all the time. And we talked about the nature of that verse a little bit, but I pushed the group to look just one verse further to John 3:17, where it talks specifically more about what Jesus' mission was. Not to condemn the world, but to save the world. And we talked about what does it mean to condemn people, to condemn things, and how do we reflect that in our speech and in our own actions. And are there people that we've either been wronged by or people that we have wronged ourselves, and how do we deal with that, and how do we stay focused on the mission that Jesus had, the mission to save, not to condemn. So we talked a little bit about that, and then we also looked at another verse in John chapter 30 toward the end. Chapter 3, verse 30, at the end of the chapter there, where John talks about, I must decrease so that he can increase, as respect to Jesus. And we asked our students, what does it look like for you to decrease in your world and for Jesus to increase in your world? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? How do you live that out in the world that you're in? We had some great conversation around that, some real good challenges that our students put on themselves, ways that they want to try to live that out in a very intentional way, to where our own selfish desires, our own intentions, our own agenda is lessened as we pursue Jesus and what he calls us to do. So it was a great challenge for our students, both in John 3:17 and 3:30, where we talked about the different aspects of Jesus' mission and how we live that out ourselves. It was a great evening of challenge with some amazing young people. And we also spent the tail end of our evenings in prayer. And I just wanted to share a little bit about what came up in those moments. And there's a lot of things going on in the heads and hearts of our students, and a lot of things you might expect. We've got lots of different sports activities that are kind of winding down here in the fall, and so people are finishing up those seasons and they're asking for prayer for final meets or final games and that kind of thing. But there's also concern for academics. We've got quarter endings coming up soon and different things that are coming due soon. Our students are praying about that. But they're also thinking beyond themselves. They're praying for family members that are either they're ill or they're traveling or they've got some other concern in their lives. Our students are thinking about those people, and those people are on their hearts. And so if you have time, no matter where you are and what your connection is to Decorah Covenant, to our Warehouse student ministry, if you, the viewer of this video, have time, I'd invite you to pray as well. I'd invite you to pray for these students. You don't maybe know their names, but you can pray knowing that God does know their names and God does know their specific needs. And so you can pray that those needs would be met, that our students would encounter God as they work through the struggles and they see God active in their lives. And if you want to take it one step farther, if you're connected to the church, you can become a prayer partner. You can be matched up with a student for this academic year and support them specifically and in a very direct way in prayer. And I'd invite you to come talk to me if you'd like to join that part of our ministry. So the invitation today is to embrace all of John 3, not just the verse that everybody knows about, for God so loved the world, but the verses that talk about Jesus' mission, the verses that talk about Jesus not condemning the world, but being sent here to save the world, and the verses that talk about our own pride and ambitions needing to decrease as Jesus increases in our life. And a great way to live out all of those things is to reach out in prayer for other people. So that's my invitation to you today from the Warehouse Whiteboard perspective. And you might be wondering why we're not in the warehouse right now. Well, I wanted to shoot today's video with the street behind me, with a street level view part of the video, because today's ideas are about putting things to practice, getting things out on the street level. How do I decrease so Jesus can increase? How do I invest myself in prayer for others? So it's very much about a mobilization sort of idea. So that's why we've got a little bit of street view in the background here. hoping that everybody gets that image and is mobilized to not only pursue Jesus yourselves, but to help others do the same thing. So again, this has been JJ with the Warehouse Whiteboard. I'm so grateful that you joined today, and I hope that you will join us in prayer, and I hope that you will just join the cause of Christ. And if you ever have any questions about Jesus, we'd all be happy to talk them through with you. We'll see you next time on the Whiteboard.